Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to all new Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. You know that I appreciate each and every one of you. Now, we had a lot happen over the weekend. We had the national title game for the NCAA women's tournament. We had the Final Four play itself out, and now we're down to the title game with Villanova and Michigan. And so there's a lot to get into there. Obviously, the Notre Dame game is huge. And it really did make me think about why it is that UConn has been so bad for women's college basketball. So we'll get into that. But let's start with Kansas and Villanova, Loyola, Chicago, and Michigan over the weekend, because I think that those two games might have been two of the most disappointing games of the tournament, which does happen, by the way. Just you have so many games happen in the tournament that you get to the end and the games are fewer and fewer, that not all of these games are going to be good, right? Like, not just because it's the Final Four doesn't mean that we are somehow owed entertaining basketball. And I would say the same thing for tonight. If this game should turn ugly, and we've seen it happen a number of times in the past, we're not owed great basketball. We're just not. Now, I actually do think that tonight's game will be really good because of the nature of the way that these two teams are constructed. And they're constructed particularly in ways that I didn't think that we would have seen. Both of these teams are heavily constructed with seniors. Both teams are relying heavily on upperclassmen. And when we had the one and done craze take over, I didn't think that we'd get back to squads constructed with guys who plan on sticking around in college for 3 or 4 years. I honestly didn't think so, just because of how effective one and done was for so many teams, right? Like, we've seen it happen with success for Florida and Kentucky and Duke, which Coach K is a really old school guy. And even he bought into one and done. I mean, we've seen guys just show up and go away, and we're probably going to see another guy next year in Zion Williamson, who's going to be really good, but also he's not sticking around for 3 or 4 years. You know, we've seen Jahlil Okafor come and go, very talented offensive player, probably could have used 3 or 4 years in college, to be honest with you. But that's just not the way that this works out. Like, a lot of these guys are going to these big name programs to get the recognition, play in front of scouts, and look the NBA part, right? Get themselves a chance to accomplish the dreams that they've had. And there are teams that are not able to get these guys that go about this another way and try and get guys who are going to stick around for the long haul. And what this actually lets you do is it lets you grow a super team, right? Was the one thing we complain about in the NBA all the time is super teams. Oh no, Kevin Durant has joined a super team and LeBron has made a super team. But super teams are actually really good in college basketball because of the rules of transferring and all of that, they're naturally homegrown, right? And you can make a team that's talented, that's more talented than a younger squad, a la anything that's happening at Kentucky. Because, I mean, you know, John Calipari was talking about earlier this season, the number of guys on his squad that are under 19 years old. This is the youngest team even he has ever coached. Right? Like, so you can have a team that's more talented just because they're older. And age is a talent. Age is a talent in college, right? Like, once you get to the NBA, it really starts to, like, not matter that much. But age is a talent at that age. And you know this if you have an older brother or a younger brother and you've ever played basketball in the driveway, that I had a talent over my younger brother, and that was, I'm stronger than you. And then my younger brother grew to be 6'4", and I wasn't able to exercise the talent of age anymore, right? Like, once we got to be in our 20s, it got to be really difficult to beat him in a game of basketball. Where when we were kids, I was able to do that and be pretty successful doing it, right? Like, just stomping out my brother until we reached a certain point where I couldn't do it anymore. Like, age is actually a skill in college basketball because you've got guys that are in college for 4 years. Well, they're 21, 22 years old in this tournament, especially a lot of these guys in Villanova and on Michigan, and they're playing 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds at At best, 19-year-olds, at best. So you can build a super team with guys that are just older, right? Experience is also a skill. And when you have a team that's simply older because guys are stronger and faster due to their age, more coordinated, and then you have a team that's more experienced, it gives you a chance to do the one thing in the NCAA tournament that you have to do. It's a single elimination tournament. And what you have to be able to do is adapt. Well, older guys figure out how to adapt better, right? Like younger people don't know how to adapt. You are really good at one thing. And if you don't know how to do your one thing, you're kind of stuck. You don't know where to go next. And so that's where we are with a lot of these younger squads, is that you could make a run. You could be Duke and get to the Elite Eight. You could be Kansas, get to the Final Four. But when you run into Villanova, you're going down. Right? That's what we've seen. And we talk about there being multiple right ways to be able to be successful in sports, which is one of the beautiful things about it. But also, being successful, some ways are just better. The way that gives you the best chance to win in an NCAA tournament is whatever way lets you adapt and whatever way gives you the most flexibility. This is the problem with Virginia, if there has to be a problem, which is Virginia can't adapt, right? Like that system that Tony Bennett has, that's the system. And if someone finds a way to disrupt the system, there's not a whole lot of adapting there. That's why Virginia struggles in the tournament, because they can't adapt. So when you have a team full of seniors, you're capable of adapting, and you generally have players who are bigger, stronger, and faster than everyone else that they're playing against. That's why we've got Michigan, and that's why we've got Villanova in the championship game tonight. You're listening to All New Nougat Radio, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose, talking about Villanova and Michigan in the title game tonight. What does this mean? Because Michigan and Villanova, despite the fact that they're both built with upperclassmen, have some differences, right? Like Villanova's calling card is offense. Their offense is lethal. We saw that against Kansas. They made 13 threes in the first half. It was insane. They were up 22-4 in the blink of an eye. Before you even knew it, the game was more or less out of hand, right? And Michigan's is defense. And when they turn it on, it becomes a very difficult situation. It looked like Loyola Chicago was going to hang on and pull away from Michigan. Now, I think a lot of credit goes to John Beilein and his ability, again, to adapt. But the defense takes a lot of credit for that as well. They were able to slow down Loyola Chicago, overcome a bad shooting night. They really didn't shoot the ball very well early in that game, and go on to win in large part because they were able to defensively clamp up on Loyola Chicago and end a magical run by that team, which would have been fun tonight to see. It would have been fun, but I think we're going to get a better game tonight because I don't think that I would have given Loyola Chicago a shot against Villanova. I do give Michigan a shot against Villanova because both of them, one team plays incredible defense, one team plays incredible offense, and they both shoot the three ball very well. Inexperience is not going to be a problem here. Like Loyola Chicago would have had experience problems. They've never been this far in the tournament before, and they were escaping all of the other times they basically were exceeding expectations, right? So I look at this and I go, okay, inexperience is not going to be a problem in this game. Shooting's not going to be a problem in this game. Youth is not going to be a problem in this game. And I don't think stagnation, the inability to adapt, I don't think that that's going to be a problem in this game. And as they say in boxing, styles make fights, and a great defense and a great offense going against each other could be potentially highly entertaining. It might also potentially be disastrous. We could wind up with a very boring game or a lopsided game if Villanova isn't able to shoot anywhere near like what they did against Kansas, or if Michigan struggles shooting the ball early again and never gets into a rhythm, because I promise you Villanova will bury them if they struggle to shoot. If that's going to happen, we could end up with a game that's not any good. but it seems unlikely. I mean, both of these teams are very well coached. Mentioned John Beilein earlier, but Jay Wright is also a fantastic coach. He's very brilliant. And I think, again, I'm not going to sit here and try and dissect for you which coach is better. I don't know. All right. Like I don't have the ins and outs of the game like that. But I will say that both of these guys are very talented and have consistently had teams that have made it to this point in the tournament. Michigan made a run a couple of years ago. Villanova made a run last year. And they've been consistently one of those upper echelon college basketball teams recently because the one and done has been so effective that you have to find another way around it. And I actually think that if you are able to find talented players who want to stick around for 3-4 years, that is actually the better way to go in terms of building a college basketball squad. You're listening to all new Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Over the weekend, also, the national title game for women's college basketball, that happened. And boy, we got a couple of exciting games, right, from Notre Dame. Notre Dame took down UConn, and then Notre Dame won the national title over Mississippi State. And I think that was also incredibly fun because, and I hope I don't butcher her name, but Arike Ogunbowale, she made the game-winning shot in both the UConn game and the Mississippi State game. Notre Dame was down double digits to both teams, and it was thrilling and exciting. And I watched the game, the national title game, and I was thinking to myself, this is why I think UConn has been bad for women's college basketball. Because how many of those moments have we missed because UConn has been the team that's there? How many of those moments have we not seen where there are talented basketball players on a number of other teams, and we just don't get the opportunity to watch them because it's been UConn this whole time? UConn is the only team that anybody knows. UConn is the only team with players that anybody knows. And Notre Dame, really good. Ogunbowale, ice water in her veins. And we would not have seen her if somehow they were not able to pull it out against UConn, right? Now, it's not UConn's fault. I don't want this to seem like, well, boy, UConn should just stop winning then. No, it's not UConn's fault. They beat the opponents in front of them. That's what they're supposed to do. They recruit the best players and the best players show up. That's what they're supposed to do. Where I find this to be frustrating is that a lot of this has to do with the top end and the bottom end of women's college basketball, right? So at the bottom end, I think that we have to do more to get girls involved in athletics. I don't think that girls are still encouraged enough to play sports the way that boys are. And there was a psychologist that did a TED Talk, and I don't remember her name, but she was talking about how we allow for boys to mess up and lose and stink at things, and I think that girls kind of don't. And that's something that has to change, because I think it's good for everybody to play sports and to be bad at sports and to have the chance to be good at sports and to have the highs and lows of all of it, right? Like, I played sports and I was terrible. Like, I tried out for every team in my high school. I didn't make any of them. I was a really unathletic kid, but the fact that I got the chance to try was heavily encouraged by the fact that I was a boy. I mean, there's a whole lot more I think we can do to get girls in athletics and to encourage girls in athletics. I think it's good for everyone to play sports. But that would also deepen the pool of talent for women's sports. Right? Like, that would help deepen the pool so that if you're not UConn, you can get good players too. That there are perfectly talented players all over the place willing to play basketball and capable of playing basketball at the collegiate level. Right now, it's not that deep. It's certainly not as deep as the men's game. It's not even close. And UConn sucks up all the talent. And again, it's not their fault that they've been successful and therefore attract more players. But if you had more available talented players that could actually go to UConn, then they'd go somewhere else and make another school good. Like that, I think that that's absolutely important. And I also think that we're missing out on the top end of the game. I don't think we appreciate the WNBA enough. We don't respect it. And you don't see girls wanting to play in the WNBA with the same level of enthusiasm that boys want to play in the NBA. And part of it is that you don't make the money. in the WNBA that you can make in the NBA. You don't get the fame and the notoriety that you can in the WNBA. And as much as we want players to play the game for the love of the game, and that would be great, you can play the game for a number of other reasons. Do you think that there is nobody in the NBA who's just playing for money? You don't think that there's anybody in the NBA who's just playing for fame? Because I think that there's a bunch of those people. And this is not just the NBA, by the way. I honestly think that people in all professions do this for a number of reasons. There are people who get into radio, not for the love of radio, but for the fame. People get into music, not for the love of music, but for fame and money. That people want to be a rock star, and it's really cool to be a rock star, and it's fun to be a rock star. And there's not one person on this earth that has listened to rock music and has seen the Rolling Stones and thought to themselves, yeah, I'd like to do that. Like, if you haven't thought that to yourself, I mean, I don't know if you're human. Or to be a rapper or whatever kind of music you like. Like, the fame plays a huge part in it. If you are a lawyer or a doctor, listen, some people become lawyers because they want to help people. Some people become doctors because they want to help people. But some people become doctors because it pays a lot to be a doctor. Some people become lawyers because you make a lot of money being a lawyer. And that's fine. Like, just because you don't have the most noble reason to be it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't all benefit from you deciding to be a doctor because you want to be rich. Like, if you want to be rich and keep your money, you're going to be a good doctor because you don't want to be sued for malpractice. And I look at sports and I go, yeah, the reason why women's college basketball, every player goes to UConn is because every player that's excited about playing in the WNBA that actually is doing it for the love of the game, they want the exposure that it takes to get in that league. And going to UConn is their best shot. Right? Like, and I'm not telling you watch the WNBA. Watch it if you want to. But then if you don't watch the WNBA, know that there are WNBA players who are not getting paid as much as they could be. And then you don't get to complain about UConn and their dominance. Nobody gets to complain about UConn and their dominance if you don't watch the WNBA, if you don't pay attention to professional basketball players that are women. A lot of female basketball players have to go to other countries, Lithuania, Russia, where they make more money, where people pay more attention to them playing sports than they do playing the WNBA here. And this is supposed to be the place where we have the best talent, where we have the best players. And it's kind of incredible and absolutely insane that they don't necessarily get the same love and respect. We don't treat that league like we should, right? Like, we treat it like it's some secondary other league. It doesn't make money. The NBA helps the WNBA to remain solvent, but that's a lot of it is the respect that women basketball players are supposed to get. They don't get. They don't get it. And it's not their fault, but there's not a market demand in the United States for it that's that big. And until you see that point, we're going to see dynasties. We're going to see teams like UConn. And if Notre Dame continues to be successful, they're going to attract talent and become another dynasty type team in women's college basketball. Where, okay, well, I guess I can't go to UConn. Well, I'm going to try and go to Notre Dame. So you might spread the talent out a little bit, but it's not going to be spread out as much. And Mississippi State, I feel like they're in the national title game or the Final Four every year. I don't know if I'm right about that, but I feel like they're in the national title game every single year. Like, the talent in women's college basketball is not spread out as much as it should be, in large part because we don't have enough girls playing the game early. We don't encourage it enough. And then we don't respect the WNBA enough. We don't make it something that women want to aspire to go to. It simply isn't here in the US. And so, yeah, you might play in high school, but unless you can get a scholarship playing basketball, maybe you don't even bother. Maybe you don't even try. You're listening to All New Nougat Radio, NougatRadio.com, 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose is the show. NCAA chairman Mark Emmert does not believe that athletes should be paid. And I have gotten on Mark Emmert for this forever. But Mark Emmert actually believes this for none of the reasons that you would think. And actually, he's right. Yeah, I said it. Mark Emmert might actually be right. You're listening to all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose. Next.
Chattanooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
Panhandling's on the agenda for this week's City Council meeting. On Tuesday, the City Council will meet to discuss the panhandling issue. There are currently 2 ordinances which address it. The first, sponsored by Councilman Oglesby and Councilwoman Burrs. The second is an alternate. A body was found at the Cascade Motel in East Ridge. Police believe he was a victim of an overdose. The camp for the homeless closed down. It turns out it was built on a former toxic waste dump. Officials observed the campsite, once used as a dump for industrial waste. They've determined it should contain no permanent residences. An East Ridge teenager has been missing now for over a week. 16-year-old Alicia Mabry has been the subject of a non-stop search by the TBI and the East Ridge police. Her father says that she has mental health issues, and he wants her found as soon as possible. Sean Hannity, weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 News, now.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Chattanooga weather. Expect a few passing clouds and milder weather out there through your nighttime lows into the upper 50s. For Tuesday, breezy, warm highs soaring into the mid and upper 70s. Tomorrow night, areas of showers and a few strong storms will march in from the west. Breezy, cooler, and drier. Wednesday, high staying into the 50s. Check out Glass Farm Nursery, now with a big assortment of tropicals to beautify your lawn and garden just in time for spring. Open daily, closed Sundays. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Sourcine 12, Chief Meteorologist Pat Report.
Nooga Radio 92.7. Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio 92.7 FM. Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News, NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
High drive, left field, good, ball, baseball, look out, win.
Fireworks Fridays are back at AT&T Field. This season, your Chattanooga Lookouts have 18 fireworks shows. Book your seats today at lookouts.com.
Hey guys, do you need a mini man break? We know how busy you are, but don't let your hairstyle suffer. Come see the stylist at Sport Clips at Hamilton Place and let them treat you to the MVP experience. A precision haircut, legendary hot steam towel, massaging shampoo, and relaxing neck and shoulder treatment, all while watching your favorite sports. No appointment needed. Sport Clips at Hamilton Place, located in front of Home Depot.
For years, you have heard these words, cash, 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 and more cash. Now, Rick wants you to buy on U.S. Gold American coins. Are you tired of making 1% on your investments with the banks, even 2 or 3% at best? Well, don't miss out. Stop by Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds at 5301 Brainerd Road in Chattanooga. Buy American. Buy now. Gold is on the rise. Certified U.S. Gold American Eagle coins at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road in Chattanooga.
Mom's Furniture, her boxes of paperback romances, Mom's Estate. Oh, call Dan. Dan will help you get on with your life. Let Dan clear the old house. Take care of everything. He'll hand you a nice check. 314-4034. Dan, the cleanup man. 314-4034. In this moment, who has your back? Do you know the name of your insurance agent? Does your agent know your name? Or would you call a 1-800 number that connects you with whom? Another state? Another country? Get a local independent insurance agent with Auto Owners Insurance. Someone you can call when bad stuff happens. In this moment, get an agent who will protect you in that moment. Let Goss Insurance in Chattanooga help you today. GossInsurance.wordpress.com. Goss, representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. GossInsurance.com. Goss. GossInsurance.com, representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. 875-2500, 875-2500. Want a business phone system that gives you Outlook integration, Salesforce integration, smartphone integration? Why desk sets and expensive lines? Turn smartphones into a cohesive business system. Call Signal 619-1200. Signal Voice and Data 619-1200.
Nuga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nuga Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News Talk Nuga Radio.
Sharp, opinionated, thought-provoking. Clutch with Keon Rose.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com, 92.7 FM. Your lifestyle station, and this is Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. So, want to talk about the NCAA, right, and paying players. And I saw the cover of Time magazine said it's time to pay college athletes. Johnny Manziel is on the cover. Johnny Manziel talked a little bit about this. He was on Twitter talking about it as well, that essentially college athletes ought to be paid. And look, I've been the bigger proponent of athletes getting paid, one of them, because I think that they should be. The amateur athlete, the amateur college athlete is a farce when you just look at the amount of money that these guys generate. Like, at no point should amateurs be generating so much money and then they can't touch it, right? Like, it seems ridiculous, no matter how it is that this gets framed. And Mark Emmert has tried to frame this in a variety of ways, bordering on unreasonable and going all the way to absolutely hilarious in how he has tried to frame this stuff in the past. But he actually did come up with a pretty good reason as to why it is that players should not be paid. And the reason is you would have to pay players based on their relative value. And if you have to do that, then there's going to be some level of bidding involved. And if you have to bid for players, then certain programs in the school will have to get cut, right? Because if you use the school's money to pay somebody to play for you, then what that means is that there's a program there that's maybe not generating as much money, but I mean, it deserves to exist, right? Field hockey deserves to exist. Women's field hockey deserves to exist if your school can afford to run such a program. Lacrosse deserves to exist if your school can afford to run such a program. There are schools that have cut wrestling programs. So we've seen schools cut programs. Even now, players aren't even being paid now, and programs get cut. They do. And a lot of athletic programs operate at a deficit. In fact, one of the big jobs of athletic director, and we treat the athletic director like he's the GM of a professional team. And I think that part of his job does involve that. But part of his job also involves raising money, right? Like, part of an athletic director's job does involve hiring coaches and things of that nature. But a lot of his job is raising money. A lot of his job is finding a way for the school to build new facilities, whether those be practice facilities or stadiums for the team to play in, planning all of that out so that you don't lose a ton of money in the process. And in fact, grow the program financially, right? Athletic directors, that's a big part of their job. And when you look at the fact of the matter is, A lot of athletic directors have to choose to cut programs, have to choose to get rid of field hockey, and choose to have to get rid of maybe water polo or sports that a lot of us don't watch, that a lot of athletes play their whole lives and look forward to playing at a collegiate level and don't necessarily have the opportunity to compete because that's maybe not a sport that generates as much money as basketball and football and to a lesser extent baseball. Like they just don't generate the same level of interest and therefore not the same level of funds. And so what Mark Emmert is saying is if you started to now have to pay players, a lot more of those programs would be cut. I completely agree. I think that that's actually true. I don't think that the problem here is players getting paid by the schools, right? Like I don't. I think the problem here is that players can't make money off of their likeness. That's where I think we start to get into a realm that is potentially incredibly silly, where I have a name and I have a face, and the group of people who are able to make money off of my name, off of my face, off of the fact that I am me is the NCAA. When the NCAA sells a jersey, they sell a Nick Chubb jersey. It doesn't say Chubb on the back, but that jersey's moving because Nick Chubb's number is on the jersey, and it implies the very nature of Nick Chubb. And so, yeah, the NCAA is making money off of the fact that Nick Chubb is who he is. And as they've made money off of the fact that Tim Tebow was who he was. And the NCAA back in 2010, I think Jay Billis was the one that figured this out, was you could go to the NCAA website, and they've since changed this, but you could go to the NCAA website, their shop, and you could type in a player's name, and the jersey number that corresponds to that player would come up, even though the player's name is not on the jersey, which is an acknowledgement that, yeah, what you're looking for is a Johnny Manziel. So we're going to give you a Texas A&M number 2. That's going to come up when you search Johnny Manziel. His name's not on the jersey, but you're still making money off of it. The fact that they can make money off of the likeness of a player is crazy. When the player can't make money off of themselves, when the player can't sign merchandise and sell it, when a player can't be featured in a video game and make money off of it. Like I would like nothing more than the NCAA video game to return, but you're going to have to pay the players for being represented in that game. And I don't think that that should come out of the school's pocket, right? Like I don't want programs to be shut down. And I'm not even asking for schools to pay guys, because I do think that that does get complicated. And we do have a bunch of Title IX rules that makes it such that you do have to pay women athletes the same as what you pay male athletes. And, you know, we talked about it a little bit before. Women's sports does not generate the same amount of money. So you are going to be operating at an even greater deficit. I just don't understand why players can't make money off of themselves, because I think it would benefit men and women's sports. If Arike Ogunbowale, who made those buzzer beaters over the weekend to give Notre Dame a national title, if she suddenly found herself famous enough to sign a couple of jerseys and make some money off of it, it seems to me to be very weird and the opposite of anything American that she can't do that. Like, that's an actual industry now, by the way, is using your fame to make money. We've got the Kardashians and the Jenners on Instagram, for goodness sakes. And they make money because they're famous. Like, that's all it is they're famous and they're on social media. The University of Central Florida had a kicker last year. And they kicked him off the team. They kicked him off the team because he had a YouTube channel and he was making money by being a YouTuber, which is not, by the way, connected in any way to him being a college football athlete, because he was making money from YouTube before he got to college. And he's incredibly popular on YouTube. And a lot of it is his fame didn't come from him being a kicker. I mean, he's a kicker. He's a college kicker. His fame obviously didn't come from him being a kicker. And the NCAA said, hey, you can't have him on the team. And I think that that's crazy. He refused to shut down his YouTube channel because, hey, here's a young guy showing some entrepreneurial spirit. He makes a YouTube channel that generates some money, and he can't make money off of his own name and likeness because now the NCAA essentially owns it. That is a problem. That is a gigantic problem. And if you cannot see that for the absolutely massive problem that is, I cannot help you. That is beyond ridiculous. And I look at that and I go, wow. Why can't he make money off of himself? That's where I have a problem. That's where the issue is. Mark Emmert has not addressed that, by the way. And he can twist and turn all he wants to and talk about how, like, there are plenty of good reasons not to pay players. That is a reason that I agree with. That there's just not enough money to go around from program to program. Some schools make money, but not every school is Texas. Right? Like, not every school is Alabama. Right? UAB lost their football program. They got it back, but they lost it. They had to shut it down. Like, not all of these programs are as solvent as they'd like to be. And the ones that aren't, they're in jeopardy as is. Look, I understand there's not enough money to go around, and I think that the schools with the most money would start to cluster talent at a rate that would be ridiculous, I think, in large part because money would be the deciding factor. Money would be the deciding factor. And I don't know if it would ruin college sports, but it would change it drastically, and we'd all have to sit down and figure out how to get used to it. You're listening to All New Nougat Radio, NougatRadio.com, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. So Josh Rosen has been talked about a lot because Josh Rosen is an interesting guy in the NFL. Josh Rosen is possibly the most interesting guy in the NFL draft, right? Like, he's not, I don't know if he's the best guy. I feel like I'm alone on an island, but I actually really do still like Darnold. I think that he's become something of a turnover machine, but I just look at the raw tools and the fact that he's a guy that struggled to get into a starting lineup at USC and worked his butt off to get to where he has been. I just like that from a quarterback. And I think that even with all the turnover struggles, which, by the way, Andrew Luck had and Peyton Manning had entering the NFL, even with all the turnover struggles, I think that Darnold can be really good. And so I'm not willing to just shovel out Sam Darnold because he had one bad season of college football when we were in love with him the year before, right? Like people are acting like this draft is bereft of talent, and it was the same talent that we liked previously. Nothing's changed. So I look at Rosen as the most interesting guy. I don't know if he's the best guy. I think that's Darnold. But he's the most interesting guy. He's cerebral. He's outspoken. He's intelligent. And Jim Mora has been making the rounds talking about Josh Rosen and saying that Josh Rosen is, in his opinion, the best quarterback in the draft. And it makes sense because he coached the guy. But he's also been saying that Josh Rosen may not be the best fit for the Browns if the Browns are looking for a quarterback, because Josh Rosen is a guy that needs to be intellectually stimulated, is what he said, right? And you know what? I thought that was ridiculous on the face of it, but the more that I think about it, the more that actually does make sense. Needs to be intellectually stimulated. Yeah, as in, if Josh Rosen happens to be working a bad job, he's not the kind of guy that's going to give you 100% working a bad job. Some guys can, right? Like there's a group of people in this world that will do any job if it means they get to put food on their table. Right? Like those are very highly productive and very admirable people, by the way. But there's also a group of people, and I'm one of those people, by the way, that I'm miserable. I'm miserable if the job that I'm doing is a bad job. And that's by my own personal definition of bad job. Like some people are just perfectly fine in construction. I would be useless. I would be 100% useless to you. Right? And I've worked retail jobs because I did what I had to do. I had to pay rent. I live in an apartment. I can't afford to be evicted. So I worked a number of jobs that I did not like. And I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And I've worked a number of retail jobs and some food jobs. I didn't enjoy them. And I was absolutely miserable because I'm the kind of guy, I have to be doing something interesting to really enjoy the work. And you can enjoy work. Work is something that you can enjoy if you work. And again, this is just your own definition, a good job. Some people like jobs where it's physical and they're moving all the time. It's not me. I'm an indoor person. Right? Like I don't like to go outside generally. I'm not an outdoorsman. Right? Like I can't, like, I'm not great at sales. You know, like going out and trying to sell things to people, it's not my forte, but some people could sell you your own shirt and enjoy it. That's a good job for them. Josh Rosen can't play for the Browns, is my point. Josh Rosen can't play for the Browns because the Browns, by about everybody's metric, is a bad job. Sam Darnold might be able to play for the Browns. Sam Darnold has had to struggle just a little bit. He's the guy that'll do what he has to do. And that's the mentality that it takes to play for the Cleveland Browns. It's the only mentality that you have to play for the Cleveland Browns. There is nothing glamorous about that job. And being a starting quarterback in the NFL is tough. There's only 32 of those jobs available, but only one of those jobs has zero glamour to it. And that's quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. There are other small markets, but we were able to appreciate Blake Bortles. Jim Kelly is able to be a hero in Buffalo. You can be successful in 31 of 32 NFL markets, and people will appreciate you. You can be okay in 31 of 32 markets, and people will appreciate you. There are defenders of Tyrod Taylor. You cannot be just okay in Cleveland. You have to be good. That's a bad job. There's too much pressure. That is a bad job. Josh Rosen, if he's the kind of guy that Jim Morris says that he is, can't work a bad job. Some of us can't. Right? And I think there is something of a generational thing there too. Jim Mora described Josh Rosen as being like you're just straight up typical millennial in that way, where millennials are, by definition, or not by definition, but by polling at least, more concerned with being happy where they work. I have a very low bar on that. I'm not trying to be happy. I'm just trying not to be miserable. I will settle for not miserable wherever I am. And I think Josh Rosen would settle for that too, which is why Josh Rosen, under no circumstances, can play for the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield can. He's struggled. He's kind of undersized. He's been doubted. Sam Darnold has. Josh Rosen's a guy that we kind of knew was the real deal for a very long time. I mean, his nickname was Chosen Rosen for a while. We knew he was going to be good. We knew he was going to be good. Some people are capable of just putting their nose to the grindstone, putting their head down, going to work, working that 9 to 5, hating every second of it, but it's just what they have to do. Some people can't. Josh Rosen can't. The Cleveland Browns job is the miserable 9 to 5 that you hate. And if you get drafted by that team, if you want to play football, that's just what you're going to have to do. Because this is a sport where you don't choose where you go. You're listening to all new Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. So Charles Barkley has got an opinion on Kevin Durant. And Charles Barkley's opinion on Kevin Durant is that Kevin Durant has gone to Golden State and become a different person. And it's, yes, Charles, yes, obviously, he's gone to Golden State and become a different person. And Kevin Durant was very concerned with being a nice guy for his entire career. Kevin Durant wants to be liked. I have a friend who loves to be liked. He shows up at a party and he's got all the stories and all of the craziest stuff has happened to him because he wants to be liked. He's very concerned with that. You know, people that are like that. They show up and they just want to be liked. Kevin Durant wants to be liked. I think that's part of his persona in Oklahoma City was that he wanted to be liked. And I think the reason why he went to Golden State was so that he could have an easier shot at winning a title, because people who win titles ultimately, long-term, are liked. You can make fun of Kevin Durant now. You can mock him now, call him a cupcake now. But when you look back on his career, you will see in one particular stat column, NBA champ. And I think we will actually forget how it was that he got there because he wants to be liked. Kevin Durant was ejected from a game before the weekend began, right? Like Thursday night, I think he was ejected. And Charles Barkley has said, like, look, it looks like Kevin Durant is a different person. And I think that that's true, but I don't think he's a different person because he went to Golden State. I think he became a different person because of the reactions of him going to Golden State from Charles specifically, but a lot of other people who called him soft and who called him out and essentially said that was a weak move going to the Warriors. I don't think it was. I think of it in terms of mobility and jobs, the way I think about all of this stuff. And I thought that Kevin Durant went and found himself a better job with nicer coworkers. Can't get mad at a guy for doing that because that's exactly what I would do. If there was another job and the job was easier and nicer and in a nicer area, it's over in the Bay Area and my coworkers are better, I'm going over there and I don't even have regrets looking back. And Kevin Durant went to a nicer job, but the backlash from him going to a nicer job was so strong, it changes people. You can't have people calling you soft 24/7, 365 and not change as a person. And people tend to get harsher as a result of extra criticism, right? Like that's one of the things that we actually see with a lot of political opinions in America is that people get hardened in their opinions when you tell them that their opinions are stupid. And people have been telling Kevin Durant that he's made the softest move in the history of NBA transactions. So he became a different person. He became the kind of guy that shouts at referees and picks up technicals and gets ejected from games because he's been having to defend himself for the greater part of the last 2 years. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM. Remember, folks, it's not how you start. It's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours. Alex Jones, he's next.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
The camp for the homeless closed down. It turns out it was built on a former toxic waste dump. Officials observed the campsite, once used as a dump for industrial waste. They've determined it should contain no permanent residences. Panhandling's on the agenda for this week's City Council meeting. On Tuesday, the City Council will meet to discuss the panhandling issue. There are currently 2 ordinances which address it. The first, sponsored by Councilman Oglesby and Councilwoman Burrs. The second is an alternate. An East Ridge teenager has been missing now for over a week. 16-year-old Alicia Mabry has been the subject of a non-stop search by the TBI and the East Ridge police. Her father says that she has mental health issues, and he wants her found as soon as possible. A body was found at the Cascade Motel in East Ridge. Police believe he was the victim of an overdose. Sean Hannity, weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 News now.
95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM.
Chattanooga weather. Expect a few passing clouds and milder weather out there, 3 or nighttime lows into the upper 50s. For Tuesday, breezy, warm high soaring into the mid and upper 70s. Tomorrow night, areas of showers and a few strong storms will march in from the west. Breezy, cooler, and drier Wednesday, high staying into the 50s. Check out Glass Farm Nursery now with a big assortment of tropicals to beautify your lawn and garden just in time for spring. Open daily, closed Sundays. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Sourcing 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Here's what advertisers are saying.
Nooga Radio.
The radio station, they really care. They're always calling me probably once a week, checking on me, seeing how things going, see if they want to change any of the ads or do anything different, seeing what my needs are. I've gotten business off the ads that you do for me, and seems to be working well at this point.
Prices were very fair. Areas in this town that we aren't able to get other ways, your radio station is able to help us out, and I really appreciate that.
We've been very pleased with the services we've got. It seems like everybody over there cares about what they're going to do, how it's going to work for us on this end, and we've been very impressed with the creativity of the ads that we've heard, and they always seem to be right on point.
Been doing business with News Talk Radio for quite some time. time. It's the best place and the best value you can get for your advertisement. The commercials are great. They're very professional. I was actually blown away.
The commercial that they put together was awesome. It was way far above all the other radio stations we've dealt with. The best we've had yet, guarantee you.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM.
High drive, left field, good, ball, baseball, lookouts win.
Come watch your Chattanooga Lookouts defend their Southern League title. Their season begins Thursday, April 5th. Secure your seats today at lookouts.com.
For car care you can trust, visit State Line Car Care in East Ridge. With 39 years in the automotive industry, owner Tracy Matthews and his professional staff treat everyone like family and every vehicle like their own. From brakes and tires to engines and transmissions, State Line services all makes and models. A standard oil change is just $24.95, and brake, AC, or engine light diagnostics are free. Open weekdays 8 to 5, Saturdays 9 to 1. State Line Car Care, 1416 St. Thomas Street in East Ridge.
Okay, you've got the girl. Now it's time to take it to the next level. The ring. The only place you need to know and go is to Goss Company Jewelers. Not only do they sell retail jewelry, but offer custom jewelry too. You want something unique and personalized? Charlie Goss can do it. Charlie will guide you through the process of finding the perfect ring. Your best girl deserves the ring from the best in the business. Trust Charlie Goss at Goss Company Jewelers, behind Chili's on Gun Barrel.
For years, you have heard these words, cash, 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 and more cash. Now, Rick wants you to buy on U.S. Gold American coins. Are you tired of making 1% on your investments with the banks, even 2 or 3% at best? Well, don't miss out. Stop by Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds at 5301 Brainerd Road in Chattanooga. Buy American. Buy now. Gold is on the rise. Certified U.S. Gold American Eagle coins at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road in Chattanooga.
WPLD HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga.
Serving Chattanooga.
Broadcasting live from the center of the universe, the Tennessee Valley's most listened to news talk station.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by TheraWorks Relief.
I'm Pam Coulter. The EPA plan to relax Obama-era vehicle emission standards is already coming under fire. CBS's Matt Piper.
President Trump's EPA head says former President Obama's standards are too high and that less stringent ones will be in effect for model years 2022 to 2025. We do not know what the new fuel efficiency rules will be, but Stanley Young with the California Resources Board is not on board.
This is an issue of public health for us. California has the worst air in the nation. We need to clean it up.
California has the power to set its own pollution and gas mileage standards, so a legal showdown could ensue.
For us, this is an absolute necessity, and 12 other states have agreed to adopt these because they feel that it's better to have cleaner cars on the roads and highways.
Matt Piper, CBS News.
The Wall Street Journal reports the White House is investigating EPA Chief Scott Pruitt after reports he paid a below-market rate to rent a D.C. condo owned by a lobbyist who deals with the agency. President Trump continues to criticize Democrats for the lack of a deal to protect the so-called dreamers. CBS's Major Garrett.
Some in the Trump political base fear the president has gone soft on the immigration issue. One reason they might have reached that conclusion is the president, a couple of weeks ago, was still endorsing the concept of granting a path to citizenship to 1.8 million undocumented immigrants in this country who would be eligible for deferred adjudication for childhood arrivals, otherwise known as DACA.
Winnie Mandela has died at 81. She was the former wife of the late Nelson Mandela and an anti-apartheid activist in her own right. A CBS News poll found 53% of Americans believe only some of Martin Luther King Jr.'s goals have been achieved 50 years after he was killed. His daughter Bernice spoke with CBS News.
Our world is in a better place because our father gave his life. So, yes, I worked through, dad here, dad there, having him, to ask the tough questions when I'm going out on a date or something. But, where would our world be?
The threat of a U.S.-China trade war and a sell-off of big tech stocks sent stocks tumbling today. CBS's Jill Schlesinger.
It has a lot to do with trade. It has a lot to do with technology. It may even have something to do with the fact that the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates. And you put it all together, you get a market that's now, a bull market that's now in its 10th year. And I think there are many investors who start to question, could this be the tipping point?
This is CBS News.
To prevent and relieve muscle cramps in your legs and feet, use TheraWorks Relief. Get TheraWorks Relief today at select Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid pharmacies or TheraWorksRelief.com.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. With a call to National Tax Helpline, you can stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Once you've qualified and enrolled, the IRS will stop all the collection activities against you. These unique programs have been allocated to help the economy and significantly reduce or eliminate your tax burden. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements and other favorable programs. You may qualify for substantial savings, so get the help you need. If you owe the IRS $10,000 or more, call now for free information and to see if you qualify. Take down the number now for the Tax Helpline, 800-805-1055. That's 800-805-1055 for free information. 800-805-1055. That's 800-805-1055.
There are some unintended consequences from the nationwide reckoning on sexual harassment.
Charitable organizations that pay for art and dance classes in public schools are suffering fallout from the Me Too movement. The New York Times says one of them, the Rush Philanthropic Foundation, is having trouble raising money and may have to end programs in New York because its founder, hip-hop mogul Russell Simmons, has been accused of rape by several women. The Kevin Spacey Foundation, which mentored and trained young performers, shut down a month ago when trustees said it was no longer viable. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
A debate is underway in the Colorado ski resort town of Steamboat Springs. The city council votes tomorrow on an application to put a marijuana dispensary midway between downtown and the Steamboat Ski Resort. Some people fear it could hurt the town's family-friendly atmosphere, but others say it's time to treat pot shops the same as liquor stores. Pam Coulter, CBS News.
When it comes to news and information, Nuga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
The camp for the homeless closed down. It turns out it was built on a former toxic waste dump. Officials observed the campsite, once used as a dump for industrial waste. They've determined it should contain no permanent residences. Panhandling's on the agenda for this week's City Council meeting. On Tuesday, the City Council will meet to discuss the panhandling issue. There are currently 2 ordinances which address it. The first, sponsored by Councilman Oglesby and Councilwoman Burrs. The second is an alternate. An East Ridge teenager has been missing now for over a week. 16-year-old Alicia Mabry has been the subject of a non-stop search by the TBI and the East Ridge police. Her father says that she has mental health issues, and he wants her found as soon as possible. A body was found at the Cascade Motel in East Ridge. Police believe he was the victim of an overdose. Sean Hannity, weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 News now.
Expect a few passing clouds and milder weather out there. 3 or nighttime lows into the upper 50s. For Tuesday, breezy, warm high soaring into the mid and upper 70s. Tomorrow night, areas of showers and a few strong storms will march in from the west. Breezy, cooler, and drier Wednesday, high staying into the 50s. Check out Glass Farm Nursery now with a big assortment of tropicals to beautify your lawn and garden just in time for spring. Open daily, closed Sundays. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Pat Report.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Alex Jones, the far-right conspiracy theorist who is apparently... Alex Jones.
Scum! Russian scum!
InfoWars comes to mind. Reputation's amazing. I will not let you down. You will be very, very impressed, I hope.
Volcanic racism has violently erupted, and yet the media would have us all quietly look away from the urgency to right the descent into madness. Deeming the increasing chaotic situation a far-right conspiracy, even after the testimony of brutality on Boer farmers in South Africa has been documented over and over, including graphic acts involving horrific evil child torture and the raping of entire families, followed by slow executions.
The elderly couple that had boiling water poured over them, or the elderly gentleman who recently got locked up in his Ford truck and trussed up, and then the truck set on fire and burned to death. Or the little girl who was raped, the 4-year-old girl who was raped by 3 men, survived it. And because she survived, this was proven in the post-mortem autopsy, she was then bundled up in newspaper with gasoline poured over it and then set on fire. Or the girl who was crucified on her parents' kitchen table and then raped, a 3-year-old girl in this instance, the 3-year-old girl raped by 4 men while crucified to her parents' kitchen table after her father had had his throat slit and her mother had been killed as well.
Paul's husband, David, was murdered in this farm 6 years ago. She witnessed the murder. Her hands were